challenge she herself, in fact, faced, undaunted. Please welcome Heather Noble.
Tom Cruise, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Ozzy Osbourne, Richard Branson, Bella Thorne, Steven Spielberg, and Walt Disney all have something in common. What is it? Dyslexia. Who would have even had a thought in mind that these very successful people are or were dyslexic? The answer is not many. Because these individuals did not let their dyslexia define who they were. They just thought of it as an obstacle to be confronted. Which is why dyslexia should not define a person or automatically be considered a disease. Dyslexia is a disability, and it does not make someone unintelligent. I am dyslexic. I will not let it define me. I will succeed. The word dyslexia is a name for a specific learning disability. A learning disability is a neurological condition that interferes with a person's ability to store, process, or produce information. This means dyslexia can cause poor reading fluency, problems with reading comprehension, can slow down vocabulary growth, and can create problems with organization, direction, and time management. Dyslexia is not a result of poor instruction. Anyone can have dyslexia, no matter a person's race, religion, or ethnic background. It's not contagious. It's something a person is born with, and is most often linked with genetics. Although dyslexia can delay reading, writing, spelling, and sometimes even speaking, it does not mean a person with dyslexia cannot learn. It just means a person with dyslexia learns differently at a different pace, because it takes that person longer to process the information that he or she is given. There are also many misconceptions about dyslexia, such as this student can't have dyslexia because this student can read. Dyslexia means just seeing things backwards. Dyslexia makes you stupid. This student can't have dyslexia because this student was tested by the schools and didn't qualify for special education. And the most common misconception about dyslexia is that there's no such thing as dyslexia. It's just a fancy term, which means a child can't read. 15% of all Americans have trouble reading. 70 to 80% of all people with poor reading skills are likely to be dyslexic. 1 in 5 students has a language-based learning disability, and well, the most common is dyslexia. Estimates of how many people actually do have dyslexia vary, but it is thought to affect roughly between 5 and 17% of school-age children, depending on the criteria used in the schools. Dr. Sally Shaywitz, co-director of the Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity, once said, quote, "There is already a solid method of how to teach children with dyslexia to read, although the techniques are often underutilized by schools because they lack resources or fail to diagnose children early," end quote. Much of the knowledge about dyslexia comes from researchers who probe dyslexia's roots in basic brain circuits and genes. These researchers have discovered that a dyslexic brain and a non-dyslexic brain look the same but are used differently. For example, most readers stimulate areas in the back left side of the brain, whereas a dyslexic reader does not trigger those areas, but they activate portions of the front section of the brain. Also, by studying the brain, researchers have discovered that there are many, many varieties and forms of dyslexia. One source stated, dyslexia is like ice cream. There are 101 different flavors of it. This means there are so many different forms of dyslexia that we might not even know the names of them. But because dyslexia is so common, there is always a way to help that individual learn at his or her own pace, using the tools he or she may need to succeed. Dyslexia has been a major obstacle for me, but it has also been a gift. I was diagnosed with dyslexia in 3rd grade. My parents thought that I had poor eyesight because I would skip lines in paragraphs as I read, and I didn't even know it. So I was tested for glasses. I was told my eyes were great, but I still couldn't read very well. So I was then tested for a learning disability, and it turned out I was dyslexic. I worked with a tutor who started from the basics of reading and writing, and my parents worked long and hard to provide me with a proper working environment, with extended time and help when needed. As I learned more strategies, my toolbox got bigger and bigger. To this day, I am able to succeed. I have never let dyslexia define me. I have never let someone call me stupid because I could not read as well as my other classmates. Look at me today. I am in accelerated English and I have great grades. Dyslexia has made me into the person I am today. I am able to speak in front of a group of people and tell them my story. But most importantly, I am me. When I run into a frustrating moment, I think of all the famous people who have faced dyslexia in their life. I may not be an Albert Einstein, although we do share the same birthday. I know I will succeed in anything that I do. Sometimes people with dyslexia describe it as a curse or punishment, but I consider it a gift. Thank you.